Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge. Welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And just want to say again, that's our second time we've used the intro. Please give us any feedback if you have it. We'd like to know if you think it's fitting the brand of the show or what your thoughts are on it. All right, now into episode 172. We've got our great friend James today. What's up, James?
Hey Jerry, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. It's great to see you too. I'm gonna start out by describing myself and my environment. So I'm Jerry. I got brown hair, brown eyes. I've got a headset on. I'm wearing a blockchain T-shirt that David Smith gave me. I'm up in my office at the Fledge with my art behind me. What about you, James?
I have what's left of my hair is brown and kind of gray. I'm wearing glasses and my favorite tie-dye that was given to me by my girlfriend. And I'm at the Fledge on the stage. Is that about it?
Yeah, but I can't go past your painting though.
Right.
So
yeah, so I painted. I started this painting here behind me. It's a Fibonacci number because Jerry wanted a Fibonacci number. It's 8 feet by 13 feet. It's of Sleeping Bear Point up in Glen Arbor. I stretched the canvas. I built the frame out of old church pews that were around here and stretched a canvas and started out with acrylic, intending to go into oil after that, just because of the cost of covering that much canvas initially. So that's where it sits now. I really am at the point where when I get back into it, I'd like to get into it with some oil and see what I can make it look like.
That painting inspires so many people. I mean, everybody's in awe of it, and I love to tell them, yeah, wait till you see when it's done.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I don't know if it's awe-worthy or anything like that, but I like the fact that it's, I guess, bring some level of happiness to someone or inspiration, if that's the case.
Well, they always think it's done. They always think it's really detailed, and it's just, I mean, the size of it alone is awe-worthy.
Yeah, it was kind of a big one to chew up or to bite off. When I paint, they're really not done until they leave my possession. And I don't know, this, I guess I could say this has left my possession in some way, though I am here often when I can be. But I would say it's probably not even 40% done, if there is a done. So I'm hoping it, to get into it. I've only gotten into it so far with basically 3 primary acrylic colors, and I hadn't painted with acrylics for probably over 15 years. So when I get into my usual palette with oil, I'm hoping I can do a little better than what I've done so far.
It's going to be awesome. We'll look forward to it. We'll probably have to watch it evolve too. I'll have to sit down there and all that. So let's get into you. Will you mind telling us about yourself?
Like what aspect of myself? What would you like?
Well, like where were you born and raised? Where you grow up?
My parents were initially from the Owasso area, and my grandparents. My family goes way back to, I don't know, like the mid 1850s there. My parents moved to Kalkaska. My father was a junior high principal there. So I was born there and lived there until I was 7 years old. And then when I was in second grade, the summer before second grade, my father took a high school principal job in Gladstone in the Upper Peninsula. So I moved to the Upper Peninsula and grew up there. Was pretty well indoctrinated as a Yooper. When I moved there from Kalkaska, the Yoopers commented to my parents what a cute Southern accent myself and my sisters had. So for me, it was kind of like landing on the moon, even at 7 years old. But I got used to it on some level, I guess. I got to the point when I was 22 where I had to leave and then moved down to this area, which was the mid-'80s. I went to a community college for a couple of years, and then I went to Northern Michigan University and studied conservation ecology there. And then when I left there, I moved down here and have been here. And I traveled around the country for quite a while, doing different things. But I've lived in Hazlitt for the better part of 20 years. And then 2 years ago, moved to the east side of Lansing, which I really enjoy and really like my neighborhood.
Yeah, we love it that you can ride your bike over here.
Yeah.
So you said you kind of bounced around the country doing some things. Do you want to talk about any of the organizing that you did?
Sure. I guess it was 87 or 88, I started, it was kind of after Reagan got elected, I just started to identify things that I just thought were really wrong and wanted to make some kind of a difference. I didn't really know what that looked like. But I answered an ad in the paper for a group called the Michigan Citizens Lobby, which was a million-member, we turned it into a million-member nonprofit. It had been around for a long time, since the 70s. Had a lot of accomplishments like the Automobile Repair Protection Act and price marking honest advertising laws. And they came up with a consumer ratepayer consortium that identified overcharges by utility companies and got money back to ratepayers. So I started out canvassing, going door to door and talking to people about the issues and generating support and identifying volunteers and doing, that type of roots of work. And then within about a year, I was managing groups like that. I worked for a consulting company that had about 50 offices around the country, and we consulted and ran the canvas and grassroots operations for nonprofit organizations. Groups like, I was one of the people who started Clean Water Action here in Michigan, and a really good group that was really grassroots organizing type of organization called the National Toxics Campaign. It was a spin-off of some people that came out of the Clean Water Act. So I worked with the Michigan Citizens Lobby for a while. I took a project in Oklahoma for it was a little less than a year, where Conoco Oil Company had refined petroleum that had been leaking into the groundwater system in Ponca City for like 20 years. And then when the groundwater table would come up, it would push refined petroleum up into people's homes. So I went there and organized around that and some other issues. And when I was there, I identified a lot of what we called, the NIMBY organizations, and not in my backyard. I had the support of a national group, so I contacted all the smaller groups and formed what was the Oklahoma Toxics Campaign. So when I left, I just handed that to them. But it was a group of about 7 organizations, so we created a state board, and they carried on the work. But in the meantime, we ended up getting Conoco Oil Company to buy out 400 homes for $23 million, which I think was the largest buyout of its kind in the history of the U.S. at the time. But I came back to Michigan with the Michigan Citizens Lobby, and we organized around a lot of different issues. Healthcare. There was some national legislation called the Pepper-Roybal In-Home Care Act, which was going to take the cap off Social Security and allow in-home care for elderly and disabled people.
Yeah.
We worked on campaign finance reform. One of our major issues was auto insurance reform, which is still an issue in Michigan. I can't believe it. We had, went up against the auto insurance industry on a ballot initiative and beat them. And it was, it was a lot of fun. I worked on other projects in Virginia and Long Island, New York, and Ohio. Worked in Indiana to stop the city council from selling off a public gas utility, which I think is something we might want to look at here.
Yeah, that's going to we're going to have to enlist your help on that one, huh?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a pause for just 1 second, because some people are talking to you. So Chris says it's 2 of his favorite people. He loves us. And then Cindy said that you helped her become a good fundraiser.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. Cindy's one of my favorite people too.
So, and Claire saying hi, Carla saying hi, stuff like that.
Carla.
Hey, let's jump forward a little bit to what are you working on now?
You know, I'm not working on that much right now. I've kind of paused on a lot of things. I think I'm, you know, I've been a little bit in a rut. I haven't been working on art. I'm moving towards that now. I think just the chaos of the last election, all of this social upheaval that we're seeing with these, you know, the right-wing fascist movement that's happening, and the pandemic and all of the politics around that. And then, you know, a lot of the local politics I've been paying attention to and helping on some levels here and there. You know, the police brutality issues that are going on. If you keep an eye on East Lansing, what's going on with their city and their Human Rights Commission, and I look at art every day and think about art, and when I do that, it consumes me pretty well. So I know that when I get into that, that's going to be it for a while. And now that the days are getting a little longer, and I'm riding my bike and doing the things that I'm doing now, I think I'll be climbing out of my hibernation here soon and pushing towards something.
You got the vaccine coming out.
Yeah.
Are you excited about that?
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I'm going to change my habits a lot.
Yeah.
I'm still going to be aware that there is a virus out there. I still wear a mask in public. I don't know that I'll be around many groups of people, but it will, you know, it'll ease up the seclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of art. I mean, I've seen you be very prolific, and you donate a lot of it.
I do.
You want to give any shout outs to any of the great organizations, or do you want to keep that kind of private?
Well, no, that's all right. I gave a painting to Early On Michigan, which is, I think, a really good organization. They provide services for developmental kids with developmental issues between 1 and 3 years old. And for me, I think if we're going to contribute to society, early childhood development is probably the best bang for the buck. So I donated a painting for auction to raise money for them. The Habibi Dancers, which is an art group,
yeah.
You know, I think they're really good people. Melissa Bauscher, I think, is the primary person with them. I just really like the idea of contributing to the arts, and art is such a, you know, wide open thing. I just think it's all good if people are expressing themselves in a creative way. But I got an opportunity to give them a painting so that they could auction that off and help their cause a little bit. I've given to Art Space, which is a local group. Bridget Doyle is the person that organizes around that mostly. And I really like their idea of promoting spaces for people to be able to show their art and exhibit their art. And if they, you know, profit for at least cover some of the costs for doing art, which I think is what it comes down to a lot. It's often just, if people are selling their art, I think what a lot of people don't understand is just kind of a hobby that hopefully they can break even on if they're going out and selling it. So, yeah, and when I paint, I often think about, which I get in trouble for with my friends and even my family. They tell me I have to stop giving my paintings away. But when I'm painting them, I'm often thinking about who I can give them to. So, you know, that's just what I do, I guess.
Yeah. Can I thank you on air?
Sure.
So you gave me the painting behind you,
Yeah.
right? And it was an amazing feeling that you would ever think that. And I don't know, I didn't know what you had planned for it when you started it, but it is such a big part of my life. I mean,
Well,
literally.
I hear that, Jerry, and it's my pleasure, and I appreciate that.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna flip it for 200 grand. So if anybody wants to buy it,
there you go. Well, initially when I started painting that painting, I was thinking about, first of all, would it fit out the door? But if it did turn out to something where I thought it had any value, how it could be auctioned or sold to make money for a decent cause. And then I thought, well, the Fledge is as good a cause as any around Lansing. So it was kind of a no-brainer, it became an easy place to leave it. And if you want to sell sometime and make money for yourself or someone else, that's fine too.
I think Dustin's already working on the t-shirt design for our new slogan. We're just as good as anybody. Let me, while we're on the art subject, James Saylor saying you helped him paint. And Liam, I missed this when Claire first said hi, but Liam's really excited to see you on the screen too.
That's great. I wish I could see Liam too.
And then Carla's saying hello and happy that you're part of the Fledge family.
Well, Carla.
So what's on your mind? You did list out some issues, the social justice, police brutality, what's happening in East Lansing. What about on the more politics side of it with the people? You want to talk about anything that's on your mind there?
Oh, I don't know. We've had some issues. I'm in the first ward, so we've had some issues with our first ward council member, Brandon Batts. I've been talking with people about that. I know Brandon, and I was really hopeful that he was going to do a good job and, grow into that position. But some of the things that have happened since with some of his behaviors and actions, I don't think he's the right person for the job. So I was actually looking into a recall on him, which I talked to some political consultants around here, and I don't think it's feasible, particularly under the time of COVID. And then, we've got a mayor's race coming up. It's coming up soon enough, but it's getting a lot of attention now. And there's a lot of social strife going on in the wake of George Floyd and the protests, the subsequent protests, and then you've got the rise of this fascist right-wing white nationalist stuff that's going on, and the clash between these organizations. So there's really a lot to think about, and that's happening on a local level. But yeah, I like organizing, and I've never been that interested in electoral politics because I just don't think it's that good a means for social change, positive social change. And I'm just a grumpy old dude. So when I see people doing their thing, I'm always critical of it, which is easy for me to be critical because I'm not doing that much. But I don't know. I see a lot of people right now, from my perspective, who really want to get into the spotlight, and they'll get 20 people and they'll get as much press as they can, and they'll go out and they'll do their thing. And I get it, and I know they're passionate about it, and but what I like to see is those 20 people, if getting 20 other people involved.
Yeah.
So that they're speaking for, so that these ambiguous 20 people all of a sudden start writing emails and phone calling and becoming more aware of the issues. and targeting, targeting issues and targeting legislators or elected officials when the time is right. When things are going through a particular committee, you target those people. When it moves on, you get everybody involved. You get as many people as you can, and you go after them. And some of the things I've been seeing is when people get out there and let's say you say, "Fuck you, Andy Shore. You need to resign." And you go over to his house and scream at him. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm not going to criticize someone for doing it. But my question would be where do you go from there? So, okay, if you've told Andy Shore to fuck off, and now you want him to do something for you. And then you have the rest of the people in the community looking at you standing outside of Andy Shore's house, yelling "fuck you" to Andy Shore. I don't know. I don't know if it's a benefit. I think once you put yourself into some of these positions, you are easily marginalized by the politicians, and the politicians are going to try to shed you in a bad light to marginalize you with the rest of their constituents. The most impact I've ever seen from grassroots organizing is when legislators suddenly get their constituents become aware of an issue, and if for whatever reason and their phones start ringing off the hook. In my day, it was generating handwritten letters that they needed a response to, and they lose their fucking minds because they just aren't used to that. They're becoming used to people yelling at them and telling them to fuck off. But anytime when, especially on a local level, if you get 20 people to call in, that's a pretty big deal to them. Particularly on an issue that isn't getting a lot of exposure. So they suddenly will say, well, how do all of these people all of a sudden know what's going on? Because we usually do these things on the down low. So I guess it's a matter of philosophy. I understand there's a certain point with anything when all bets are off. And I think that the really aggressive positions people take and the actions that they will take on the left have a place in any movement. I really think there's a point where I was, personally, I was cheering when they broke the windows at the Chase Bank because that was an institutional target, and fuck Chase Bank. Chase Bank had just gotten $23 million lawsuit for racial discrimination.
Yeah.
And
they charged people $14 billion in non-sufficient funds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were. Yeah. Well, they were also they were distributing relief money, and they were being sued for not distributing it, and they were using the relief money against people's negative accounts when they couldn't even pay their rent.
Yeah.
So it's go ahead.
I want to. We got to rewind a little bit and let me respond, because if I sit here too neutral, I think there would be some things that I need to make sure I at least make a comment about my stance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I talked to you a lot about the recall of Brendan Betts and the feasibility of that. And, what he did was unacceptable. Mm-hmm. He should not be reacting to us like that. And I'm also disappointed because I did have high hopes. I still support the DSA, and we'll do it again. And he either needs to resign or get his butt back here and get back to work and start earning a salary, because we ain't very happy right now. So do one of those two things. But hiding wherever you're hiding ain't cool. Secondly, I think at the end there, you talked about the place for, even breaking the windows you're talking about. But I think somebody needed to yell at our elected officials, at Andy Shore.
Sure.
That was you know, what they did, we had kids come here that had just been tear gassed, our kids, the kids we care about. And nobody ever said they were wrong or sorry or anything like that. And you tear gassed our kids, and I'm super pissed about it, even to this day.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure those two stances. And, you know, I also agree with what you said about I'm never going to tell anybody how to protest, how to react, or anything like that. And I think that when you look at what your mission is, you've got to decide, am I trying to organize 10,000 people to go tip this bus over, or am I trying to just get that idea out there? Because that shockwave does have value.
Sure.
As well, in my opinion. And then I want to say something about you. I think when, you know, people see you at the Fledge and they see you, the artist and the painter or the grumpy old man, or quit telling me I need to fix all this shit. I know it's driving me stressful. But I don't think they know the rich history of organizing that you've had, and how, you know, you're a very valuable asset to our community with your wealth of knowledge and experience. And I just want to recognize that and make sure people know that, you know, and I think the crowd's even saying that. So.
Well, yeah. And, you know, I don't want you to get me wrong. I say fuck Andy Shore. You know, fuck Andy Shore. I don't care about Andy Shore. I don't care much about any politicians. And that goes for Debbie Stabenow, who's, you know, like in the top 5 of getting commercial bank money in the U.S. Senate. And if you look at the U.S. Senate, most of the top 10 are Democrats. But I think you have to balance the fuck yous with the constituent pressure. And I think that's where people are missing it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think there is a place in any movement for people who are on the extreme side. But there's a place for that.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, you need action. But to me, the most focus should always be on educating the electorate. Educating and involving the electorate is where it's at.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I actually don't think we were disagreeing. I just wanted to restate my position with you. I mean,
yeah. Sure.
Or in addition, just so people don't think I'm teeter-tottering.
Yeah.
I have opinions.
And on Brandon Betts, if I could speak on that for just a second.
Yeah.
You know, right now I'm torn because the city council, the liberal members on the city council want him there. They're afraid of who would be there if he wasn't. So they're looking at him as a liberal vote. And they don't want to lose that, what they consider to be a liberal vote. They think he's pretty reliable for a liberal vote on most issues. It's unfortunate he doesn't work in committees where I think most of the work is done, because he was stripped of that. But he's still what they consider to be a reliable liberal vote. And that there is a place for that, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm torn between right now, you know, pressuring Brandon to leave, and then taking we'll have to take our chances on who the council puts in his place, and possibly losing that, what is considered a pretty, you know, reliable liberal vote, and supporting him and trying to help him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I know that everyone can change, but I think you have to look at the big picture here. So we get Brandon out. He's ineffectual. He's not working on committees, but he's a reliable vote against a lot of the things that most of the people I know, and myself included, are against. So it's not easy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just was agreeing with you. It's a super complicated system of things that have to fit together. And this balance, you know, it's a long game that we're playing too. The decisions and policies made today will affect gentrification for 50 years.
Yeah.
So, and among many other things.
Yeah.
So how would you, what, do you have a personal mission? Like what do you try to do?
You know, I like random acts of kindness. Um, Not really. I just I like the philosophy of Wu Wei, which I think is kind of a cop out that allows me to be lazy sometimes, you know. But I don't know. I don't really have a mission. I don't want to do harm. I think I do harm sometimes because I'll, you know, have a couple of bourbons and pop off on people. But you know, I like the idea of art. I like, you know, I like doing art. I like the idea of promoting art because I really think that if people were given the choice of free time, they automatically start moving towards being creative. And that's something that our society doesn't put any value on in a lot of ways. You know, I mean, when I was young and wanted to be an artist, my parents and it was like, you can't be an artist, you'll never make a living, you know? And I discouraged that thought when I talk to younger people. I was like, don't let people tell you that. And what does a living mean? You know, what is it that is important to you? You know, I have an income. It's not that much, but it allows me time to be creative and time to be in my own thoughts. And, you know, and that's something that we really have to start looking at in society, you know, as valuable.
Yeah.
If we just want to crank out little machines that all think about making money and, you know, being me, and all that shit, and it's just not going to work.
Yeah, so, that's not what we're here for.
Right.
So I've been thinking a lot about leisure too. I just finished a book called Utopia for Realists that I really enjoyed. And they talked a lot about a 15-hour work week and more leisure time and how much more healthy and productive we would be as a society in creating and being innovative in our solutions. And just, it seems so obvious to me. And I don't know why it's not to other people.
Yeah. I did, you know, I did the 60-hour work weeks for years. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm just not ambitious anymore. I don't want to be ambitious. I just want to live my life and you know, interact with people in mostly positive ways and, you know, try to help when I can and try not to do too much harm on the way, you know?
Yeah.
The materialism and just all of it, it's just not the way to go. You know, and then, I mean, you've got healthcare holding people back and it's just such a convoluted mess. You know, I think that one of the biggest things that stifles creativity and entrepreneurship, which I know you're really into, is healthcare, because people can't pursue what it is they'd like to do creatively because they're strapped into a grueling job and they have to get their healthcare.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's something you do every damn day? I'm not even going to say to push your mission forward, but just to keep going or whatever.
What do I do every damn day? I always look at art, whether I'm painting or not. And I read about art. And I analyze political situations a lot. So I keep up on the news and, you know, I do that. And when I'm in painting mode, that's really all I'll do. And sometimes I'll do that more than I should. Because I get kind of, if I'm working on a particular piece, sometimes I'll get pretty obsessed with it and I'll take a break here and there, but then I'll find myself going back in at 8 o'clock at night, painting till 11 or 12 or something too. So yeah, I kind of go, I'm cyclical as far as what I'm doing on any particular day. And I think the weather has a lot to do with it too. I've been playing guitar a lot lately. So I've been doing that every day. I've been trying to get into the Delta blues a little bit.
Well, I set a guitar up behind you so you can. No, there's not one. Well, there is, but the string's broke. So we daisy chain these shows together, and yesterday on the show I had Elvin on Facebook. You guys would know him as El Cal,
Yeah.
Umbrella Socks, and his question that he wanted me to ask you was, "What would you do to inspire someone today to go after their dreams?"
That's a hard question. I think I would give reassurance to people who are growing into their art and, looking at that as a possible career. That's one of the things I try to, when I see other people who are painting, I get people who contact me thinking that I might know something about art and ask me about their work. And I try not to be critical, but I just, I encourage people, I guess, to just pursue art and pursue their creativity.
Yeah.
So I could do that today, and I still may.
I love that a lot. Tomorrow on the show, we've got our friend Faith, who's out in Cornell.
Yeah.
And what would you like to have me ask Faith?
Just in general, or?
Well, we had talked about the question that you thought of when you were riding over on your bike.
So, like in regards to what Faith does and what her work is?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I would say, do you feel it's a benefit to humanity? And if so, how?
All right. I think that's going to be a good question for her, and I think she's going to have a good answer. So, but I also ask you that question. So, is what you're doing a benefit to humanity, and how?
That's a good question. It depends on what I'm doing, I guess, but I would like to think so. Yeah. I think being creative, you can't really hurt. As long as you're, not being creative in a way that is meant to harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a generation that had more leisure to do art, as you were saying, would be a very excellent generation.
Yeah, I do too.
So, did you ever think about I'm going to say 21 because it's a Fibonacci number, but those 21 people that you inspired and them inspiring 21 more, do you think you've had a ripple effect across the country with all these people with different things like, I don't know, getting signatures and picking up checks? Is that a saying?
No, yeah. That's some of what I did, I guess. But yeah, I would like to think so. I mean, I trained a lot of people that are still doing that kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
So we're still on what I would like to think is on the right side of issues. Who also train people and who train people and, who are doing that kind of thing. And so I would like to think that that's the case as far as the organizing that I did. I know a lot of them are still in it.
Yeah.
And, as far as art goes, I just, I would like to think that it helps. I hope that I can help more in the future. Yeah.
I know people have stood in the sanctuary painting. I mean, just yesterday, Des was and finishing and painting, and he commented that your painting inspired him.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah, so I think your art just on the wall trickles you around more.
Well, good.
If you would. And I think you've had a huge impact on us, James, and we really appreciate you. And is there anything you'd like to take us out with as we kind of wrap up?
You've helped me a lot too, Jerry. So,
I've been ignoring something that Cindy said, but because it embarrasses me. But when you weren't painting and then you and I got together somehow, and you got that space back. And I'm very grateful, James, that you came into my life. So I remember those days.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
we could see each other, not have to be distanced and masked.
yeah, and how we got to know each other. We
Yeah,
kind of circled
figure each other out, quit yelling at each other.
The good old days.
Huh? Yeah, right.
All right, man.
All right, peace.
Thank you so very much. All right, everyone. Every day, 2 p.m., every damn day. See you later.